Hey guys, welcome to Conversations from Paris, where we have conversations about mental health and about everyday life and how mental health affects your everyday life. I do not want to be a person that just constantly tells you about different things, but I want to present this information in a way that is relatable, that you understand what I'm saying, and that it can help you. So, welcome. If you don't know who I am, I'm Paris. Um, and today I am speaking or finishing up. I don't know if I would call it a series. It's not a series. We're just doing part two of the imposter syndrome talk that I started last week. I told you it was going to be short. I didn't want to go too in depth into it, but I decided that there are some more things that I think are noteworthy that I believe that we need to go over. So let's do it. Let's go. I'm excited. So I will give a summation of what we went over last week. Um, Basically, imposter syndrome is the idea that you're not who you say you are, that you're not, um, there's some kind of way you're a fraud, and that you're going to be found out. People are going to start to see you and realize that you are not everything that you have advertised. Whether it's for work, in your career, whether it's friendships, whether it's relationships, whether it's even parenthood, um, every aspect of life, this thing can show up, right? So I really want to make sure that we're clear about it. Um, and we can go forth and get some clarity about what it looks like. I think a lot of times we don't take it seriously because we don't relate to it, right? We get to a point where we really believe that it doesn't apply to us, and therefore we shed all the information like, oh, that's your issue. That's something you go through. That's not a me thing. And therefore I don't listen, I don't take the information, and I can't possibly heal. One thing I've learned is that listening is a great thing because oftentimes you listen, you'll learn something. Even if it might not fully apply to you, you will get something out of it. You'll get a nugget, right? And um, I have been in the past too quick to dismiss things. So I have learned to listen and be able to figure out like, okay, is there anything there that I can pick up on that'd be good? Um, so I shared that imposter syndrome is, I like to believe that everybody has dealt with it at least once. Now, there's a statistic that says about 70% of people have dealt with it in their life at least one point in time. However, I just believe a lot of things are underreported. I'm just being very clear. I don't always trust the statistics of things because that takes into consideration that people are always completely honest, and that you have tested enough people who will upfront tell you things. And I don't think I don't even think they're testing, um, their testing size, their sample size, or their focus group is ever diverse enough for them to really get some good information. That's my personal thoughts. Um, so I just happen to believe it's always more. Whatever they say, I always add more to it. I just always believe that. Um, with that being the case, I just believe that there's a point where we feel like we have to put a mask on to be this person that we believe everybody expects us to be. There was an exercise I did in therapy when I first started that was a great exercise, and I think what they taught us to do, it was a group therapy session. What they taught us to do was to put two columns, and one column where these are the traits that you think people um, these are the things that you this is how you think people see you. I'm sorry. And then this is how you see yourself. Two different columns. How you think people see you, and then this is how you see yourself. I thought that was really good because um, that's a tension. There's a tension between those two things. How you assume people see you and how you view yourself. Two different things. In a perfect world, I was going to say something, but I'm going to change what I was about to say. I was going to say that some people think they should equal, and at one point I probably did think they should equal. However, I don't believe that anymore. I believe that all that matters is how you see yourself, and if you have people that you have an accountability to, that you trust, maybe how they see you, but even there, that's a little bit of that's a bit of a thing. So I'm saying this to say, oftentimes, the exercise exposes two things. Number one, how you think you're perceived, and it pulls up the insecurities that you have about you, or and it really oftentimes does pull into this imposter syndrome, right? And then the other part is how you see yourself. That's the other part, right? Because both of those things can be incorrect, right? People could see you one way and have an incorrect version of you, or thought process, or processing of you, a filter on how they see you and project that on you. And then you could have an incorrect perception of you, and could literally be casting thoughts that are either beneath you or some ways above you, and not actually a realistic assessment. And so it's a tension. I think that's the best word. There's definitely a tension, and the exercise, I believe, gets you to a place where we can talk about it a little bit more honestly. Okay, so that's my summation of kind of what imposter syndrome is. What I thought was super dope was that there are actually, and I got into a little bit of this last week, but I didn't go deep into it. But I thought it would be really good. There are some 5 basic types of imposter syndrome, and the crazy part about it is that I didn't really know that these were under here because, again, these are things that you see and you hear about, and I didn't know they were associated with imposter syndrome. I think I mentioned the first one to you guys. It was the perfectionist. I identify with that so much. I am a former perfectionist, and so I definitely understood what that was like. I definitely can see how that falls under the imposter syndrome. If you're somebody that's always trying to be perfect, always trying to be the one that's right, always trying to get it, together, you will always feel short. Like, you will always feel like you didn't quite hit the mark. If the mark is 100, even if you did 99%, you will always feel less than, because there's always a measuring stick. And again, we're not talking about excellence. Excellence is different than perfectionism. Perfectionism is this unrealistic expectation that you're going to always get it right all the time, and it's always going to be perfect. And oftentimes that level that you believe is of something you created, or that was created by someone else, that was really not achievable, or realistically, even if you achieved it, that you could maintain it. So that was the first one, is the perfectionist, and I talked a little bit about that last week. It definitely is a type of imposter syndrome, right? So the next one I thought was pretty interesting. It's called the expert. Okay, so the expert, they feel like they're an imposter because they don't know everything about something. And it's so interesting because I really didn't know that I really doing more research about it, I didn't even understand that I had as many things in common with this as possible. Um, the expert, that was me too. When you have been in a certain part of your life and you don't get praised in certain areas, but you get a lot of praise in one area, you tend to feel like an expert in that area. And you tend to get your praise any way that you can, right? So you know how some people say, good attention, bad attention is all the same thing. Similar, but kind of different what I'm saying here. Um, you're getting your praise however you can see it. So yeah, y'all don't recognize me here, but you say this is what I do. Okay, so now I'm going to make myself the expert because this is how I feel good. I have now, okay, that's who I am to you. Then let me be that person. So, and let's say I'm a cooking expert. Let's say that. That means all things cooking, I'm going to assume that I know them all because I want to be the person that you look to. I find solace in that. I oftentimes I didn't even want to be that, but you assigned me as that, right? Let's go there. Let's go to the times where you just thought you were good at something, fairly good at it, and people put you on this pedestal, and now you kind of feel obligated to know because when people ask you, you don't want to look crazy. So then that's what creates that imposter syndrome. Like you assume because people ask you, you should know. One of the biggest lessons I learned in life was you don't always have to have an answer. Even if you know it and somebody asks you on the spot, you don't have to recreate a formula. If somebody, I used to be a big math person, and so I wore it with a badge, right? And so I was to the point where if anybody had anything math, I felt like I had to speak on it. I had to stand in and give my assessment. And I realized that that is absolutely crazy for me to think that I know everything about math that there is to know. Um, it is, I hate to say it, but it's even rooted in a bit of pride because it's this unrealistic expectation that you should know. And so then now you hold yourself to this expectation of, I am an expert. I should know this. And now people are going to think I'm an imposter because I don't know everything there is to know about this subject. You see how crazy it sounds when I talk about it? So that's one of them. So I thought that was cool. Not so cool because I'm 2 out of 5 right now, y'all. I'm 2 out of 5. Y'all know I'm always gonna tell me. So, y'all figure out where y'all fit in. And put in the comments if you relate to any of this, anything that I'm saying resonates with you. The third one is a natural genius. Now I thought that was interesting, right? Because I'm like, how is that imposter? But you know what? I think it's because that person can definitely not feel like they're naturally intelligent, right? And I think the problem is you begin to feel like a fraud when you don't get something the first time or it takes a longer time to master a skill. Guys, how am I 3 for 3? My God. I honestly have felt this way too. I have literally beat myself up because I did not figure out how to do something the first time, or it's taking a little bit longer to learn a skill. I get incredibly frustrated with it myself. I can be very harsh on myself when it comes to things like that. And I have had to learn to do and implement better self-talk because no ma'am, you who said you're supposed to know that? No ma'am. Why do you think that you have to always get things the first time? And again, I even think that rolls into some of that perfectionism, rolls into some of that expert. It's because this idea that in the past, I learned things pretty easily, or the things that were presented to me, I absorbed them fast. I have a critical thinker. Oh my God, that critical thinking word. I'm going to go back to that. That just brought something up when I thought about that. Critical thinker. Remember we talked about critical environments and judgments can push you into this imposter syndrome in those environments from a young age. But that's a whole nother story. But I'm thinking like a critical thinker, I have even crafted my identity around being a critical thinker. Wow, I'm just okay. So y'all getting to kind of process a little bit with me and watch my processing. So not only did I craft my identity about around being a critical thinker, I allowed that to pull me to a place where if I believe that I'm a critical thinker and I always can work my way through a situation, then the moment where things are not easily workable, I'm not easily figuring it out, I then harshly judge myself and I'm super critical of myself because I could not figure the puzzle out. I'll give you an example. You know that God, now come on, parents. See, I don't have to know everything, but the square, the cube, Rubik's cube. Thank you, Jesus. I remembered it while I was online. The Rubik's cube. I have never solved the Rubik's cube. Now I know you guys are like, what? Or maybe you don't care, and maybe it's not a surprise to you. But that has been a point of shame for me. I was the nerd back in the day. I was the president of the math club. You know, I had straight A's for a couple years. I got scholarships. People used to always say I was a smarty pants, a genius, a nerd, all those things. So for me to have not ever mastered or completed the Rubik's Cube, I felt like a failure. Wow, I just admitted that online. Well, let's go. We here. We in the truth zone, baby. Let's do it. Yes, I always used to think that I, out of all people, should be able to complete a Rubik's Cube. This is taking me back to a Fresh Prince episode. Y'all remember the episode where Will did the Rubik's Cube real fast? And I think Carlton couldn't. Wow. This is funny because I never looked at myself as an elitist ever, but I think what happened is that when people keep calling you a nerd, 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 you start to wear it as a badge amongst certain people. So if you think I'm the smartest amongst you, then I'm gonna wear that hat. And so then now you get to the point where you hold yourself to an expectation because I really believe that I should be able to do all the smart people things. I should be able to solve equations quickly. I should be able to do fractions, word problems. I should be able to do the things that the average person might struggle with a little bit pretty quickly. So, hence, when people would do the Rubik's Cube that I knew that wasn't all, at least they did not present as somebody who cared a lot about education, it really boggled me. And I'm like, sheesh. Okay, I didn't think this was about me. Gosh darn it. I'm 3 for 5, y'all. 3 freaking for 5. Sheesh. Okay, let's see what the next one is. The soloist, okay? Number 4 is the soloist. Yeesh. It is, you feel like an imposter if you have had to ask for help to reach a certain level of or status because you couldn't get there on your own due to your own abilities. Okay, there we go. 4 out of 5. Yikes. Yes, I have been there before. We are in a society that tells us pick yourself up by the bootstraps. You can do it if you put the time and energy into it. If you work long days, if you spend lots of times, if you master your craft, you are going to be able to achieve what you want to achieve on your own. And especially entrepreneurship, that is something that has been one of, I think, the biggest myths is that you are expected to just win on your own when in reality, nobody wins on their own. We all use people. We all need people. We need community. We need help. The reality of it is it just looks like it's one person. It's almost, I think the best way for me to have learned to look at this is like when you look at an actress or an actor and they go to accept their award, and literally when they go up to accept it, they tell you all the people that have attributed to their success. I love that because it reminds you that you just see them on the big screen. However, all these people contributed to this moment in time, whether it's a scene, whether it was this movie, whatever it is, this look. I am not a singular being that is moving in this world without people who have contributed to helping me move forward. And I think that we have to remind ourselves that we are the main character. Y'all, come on, y'all. Here we go. Main character energy. We're the main character in our story. However, you are not a soloist. You are not by yourself. You are not expected to figure it all out by yourself. And that expectation will push you into imposter syndrome really hard and fast because you think that because you had to ask for help, you must be an imposter. This is so good. Sheesh. And y'all, mind you, I done wrote this down already, so I knew what these 5 things were. But I think the more I talk about it, I realize that I identify with them a bit more. Um, and let me just say this again: imposter syndrome is not a diagnosable syndrome that's in a DSM, right? So you wouldn't go to your therapist or your psychiatrist and say, "Hey, I need some medicine because I have imposter syndrome." No, oftentimes, again, imposter syndrome is a syndrome of a deeper root, and usually several things, right? Several traumas, several situations. You most likely are dealing with rejection. You most likely are dealing with abandonment. You most likely are dealing with low self-image. There are all these other things that leads to the imposter syndrome, and it's a result, and it's a good way to kind of summarize where we're at with it. So again, I wasn't fully aware of these 5 types until recently, and it's very interesting because I'm 4 for 5 right now, y'all. 4 for 5. So before I get to the 5th one, I want to recap. The first one was the perfectionist, right? We talked about that a little bit last week. You know what a perfectionist is. I don't think I have to explain that anymore. The expert, the person that feels like they have to know everything about a particular subject since they master it, right? Since they hit this expert level, and if they don't, they feel like a fraud. The natural genius, like if they don't automatically learn something right away the first time, or if it takes a little bit longer, they feel like a fraud because generally speaking in their life they've always been somebody to get something right away. And then the 4th one was the soloist, the person who believes that they're supposed to figure everything out by themselves, and if they ask for help, they're a fraud. Come on, y'all. I know I'm not the only one. I don't care what y'all say. I really feel like this is a lot of us. I feel like a lot of us have felt this way and been this way. And I think it's good to understand where some of this stuff comes from. So, okay, number 5. Let's see if I'm hitting. I'm hitting 4 for 5 right now, y'all. Like I told you, I don't mind telling on me. I'm hitting 4 for 5. Okay, number 5, the super person. Oh God, it sounds like me, doesn't it? It believes you must be the hardest worker or reach the highest levels of achievement possible. And if you don't, you're a fraud. I'm going to say that again. You got to be the hardest worker and you must reach the highest levels of achievement possible. If you don't, you're a fraud. Sheesh. So, y'all, I'm betting 5 for 5. Sheesh. Gosh, Lee, I didn't think I was coming to talk about me all today. Golly. All 5? Sheesh. Listen, didn't I just do an episode that says death to Superwoman or Superperson, Superman? Just talked about that. Feel like you have to do all things well all times. And if you don't, you're a fraud. Never really thought about imposter syndrome coming from that, right? Yeah. This is good, guys. This is really good. It's good because I think I love that Oprah used to, have the term aha moments because it is an aha. Like, oh my God, it just finally clicks. It finally explains so much. And it allows you to kind of see where the flood of feelings come from, where the avoidance comes from, where the coping mechanism comes from, so that we don't feel this way. We understand the self-medication a bit more. We understand some of our choices and our actions as a result of this feeling of imposter syndrome. So, listen, We got the perfectionist, the expert, um, the natural genius, the soloist, and the super power. What is it called? Wait, what was that one called? The super person. Those five things, those are five types of imposter syndrome. I guarantee everybody has dealt with at least one of them. And obviously, Paris, I have dealt with all five. All five. So, um, it's very interesting because I think it's easy to say this is not me when you say a word like imposter. It is off-putting and it makes you think, oh, no, I have high self-esteem. Of course, not me. But it's very interesting if you look at the word, this imposter syndrome is associated with the perfectionist, the expert, the super person. These are things that literally come to those types of people. And I'm just like, whoa. So it's really good to get some of this information down. Um, so now that we know the types, I want to just give you a little bit more so you can understand why this is important. You want to make sure some of the characteristics that come from it that are dangerous is you start to berate yourself. The negative self-talk. Remember I told you about that? That is super dangerous. We don't need that. You live in constant fear that you don't live up to expectations, constant fear that you're a fraud, constant fear that you're going to be found out. It's like you put your body into a fight or flight all the time. Like you're all the time sitting here like they're going to figure it out that I'm not who I say I am or who they say I am. And it's a very dangerous place to be. Fight or flight, you don't ever want to be there. Oftentimes you deal with overachieving. I was going to say this too. Doesn't it seem like a lot of what high functioning high functioning performers high functioning performance anxiety? You see how this is closely like related? I can see a lot of things there. High functioning performance anxiety and you feeling like you have to be the best at everything, right? And so now it becomes a part where you are overachieving, overcompensating. Come on, y'all. I know I'm not the only one who's been here. Overcompensating all times to try to keep up with this image of who you think people think you are. Remember when I talked about those two columns at the beginning about how people see you versus how you see yourself? It's dangerous, the tension between it, right? And so it becomes a point where you literally have to say, like, am I, because of my beliefs, am I over delivering? This is the thing in business. We give so much more because we believe that people won't think that what we offer is good enough. So we have to give them so much more so that, no one could say that we didn't give them the value. And it's really a self-value thing. A self-worth. Worth and value are interchangeable. Y'all see what I did there? And so now you over deliver, overcompensate all the time because you don't really feel like people will think that you are worth what you say. And this is oftentimes with entrepreneur. I told you I'm gonna do a course about entrepreneurs and mental health and why I actually did do. Well, I was part of a cycle where we talked about this, and I did the psychology of CEOs. But the reality of it is that you don't even price correctly. You don't quantify your time correctly because you really don't believe that you are who you say you are. You feel, you should be charging, let's say $20, but you feel like people are going to say, oh, that's too much. So then you're going to charge $5 and then work extra hard and you're operating at a deficit just so so nobody will get to say that you are not who you say you are. Yep, come on, y'all, cough that up. Yep, it's gonna be some deliverance a little bit through this, cause I'm telling y'all, I've been here. Oh my God, I know this. It's very familiar. Sabotaging your own success. Come on. Come on. Bring it up. Sabotaging your own success. This is what you do when you don't realize you have that imposter. Because now I don't really think I belong where I'm at. And so I'm going to do things that are going to cause me to look as though um to kind of pull me back down, because I even talked about this last week. Sometimes we get to a point and it's like, oh, this is so good. I think I'm gonna tell you, I'm just telling you, God just gave me this because I didn't come up with myself. This is just my opinion, but this is like I'm walking through this one with y'all. Um, y'all know you can have you can have a fear of heights. Oh, this is so good. I don't know if anybody ever said it, but I never heard it before. If they did, so I'm gonna say it now. Well, you have a fear of heights. I think you can have a fear of heights as far as success. So like I have reached this level of success. So maybe I started at 1 and I'm at tier 6. And I've reached this level here. And I get up here and I start looking down and I get woozy. And nobody's up here with me. And I'm up here by myself and I'm like, oh my God, why am I up here? I should go down to the ground where it's safe. Come on, y'all not hearing me. I should go down to the ground where it's safe or where more people are. I can have people around me. They're probably looking at me like, who do I think I am? Man, I don't, too many eyes on me. They're gonna notice how great I'm not. They're gonna figure out that I'm not so amazing. Let me go back down closer to the ground where I'm safer. Sorry, I had to clap that up. That's good. Yeah, do you have a fear of heights when it comes to success? And therefore you sabotage your success? Y'all not hearing me, are you? I think I'm gonna speak on that a little bit more. I'm gonna have to do another segment on fear of heights. And I'm talking about success and entrepreneurs and just accomplishments and purpose. It's so good. Oh, this is good. This is super good. I love it. I love it. And this last one I thought was really good too. And also speaks to the high functioning performance anxiety. What happens when you set unrealistic high goals, and then when you fail it, you sit in that like pity. See, I knew I wasn't great. I knew I couldn't do it. I knew it. Unattainable goals, things that are like, hey, by the end of the year, I'm gonna make $1 billion. And when you don't do it, I'm a failure. I knew that I wasn't somebody that they should trust. Was that a realistic goal? I mean, really, did you have real actionable steps that was going to get you there? Right? So those are some things you got to be aware of. Okay, let me just get through this. It is, you see how dangerous it is left unchecked, right? This imposter syndrome. It is a cycle. It affects your motivation. It can push you into depression. It causes anxiety. It literally causes second guessing. Your self-image is horrible. Your self-worth is horrible. You don't have a lot of self-love because you don't think you're worthy. You start to internalize this. You can become very sick very easily. These are all the reasons why it's important to understand the impact of it. And oh, let's not even talk about social anxiety. Sheesh. When you get there, you just start going into cycles of when you get around people, what you think they think of you, and you start to have this internal conversation with yourself that nobody's having, but you convince yourself that people are having it, right? And the scariest part about this is because of how high these people feel and think of themselves, they oftentimes don't talk about how they feel with anybody, and they struggle in silence. And that's why it's very dangerous, right? So I think I want to go I'm gonna give you some questions that you ask if you think that you might deal with it. Are you overly sensitive to criticism? And I'm gonna say constructive criticism, but any criticism. Are you overly sensitive to it? Like, see anybody says anything to it, like you just like, I can't believe. Like, is it something that's like it takes you to a place? It makes you super emotional. You know, is any piece of, I mean, they could be giving you some good advice, but as soon as they say it, it takes you to a place, you might be dealing with imposter syndrome. Do you downplay your expertise? Even when times when you know you are more skilled than others, but are you quiet and you hold back because you just don't want to get it wrong? You have a fear of getting it wrong. You might be dealing with imposter syndrome. Do you um, torment yourself over the smallest mistakes that you make or flaws in your work? Do you constantly replay those things and really just beat yourself up about it? You may be dealing with imposter syndrome. Um, and have you ever said, when someone said, "Hey, you're doing a great job," or "You did all these great things," do you say, "Oh, I just got lucky," or "It's because my family had money," or "It's because you know, I was able to, be fortunate enough to go here where a lot of people weren't"? Um, yeah, oftentimes then you probably have imposter syndrome. Okay, so now I told you what it is and why you have it. I told you where it can come from. Um, Now let's go to what can you do about it? Well, most of this, to be honest with you, you really have to do some really deep mindset work. I mean, I'm just being honest. It's really deep mindset work. You really have to put the time and the energy into this. Um, and it becomes a point where you have to erase all of those negative thoughts, that negative narration. Oh, that's good. The negative narration that's happening in your head. Have you listened to an Audible that as soon as you start listening to it, that it plays and it just is playing? And I think that's what happens. You wake up every morning, you press the play button, and you listen to all the lies about who you are or who you aren't. You start to listen into it, and it starts to indoctrinate, yeah, indoctrinate who you are. And now you're at a place where you have now digested this stuff. You digest it regularly. And so now it's a part of you. You know how people say you are what you eat? Well, that's also what your words and what you listen to and what you are playing over and over in your head and your thoughts. You are now the very thing that you say about yourself. Whether you think it's how people look at you or it's what you really think about yourself, you now are becoming that because you play that script every day over and over again and you believe it. You believe it. So first thing we need to do is turn off the narration. Turn it off. We got to stop it. Period, point blank. No, no, it's no longer okay. Until you stop saying it, I could tell you whatever. I could tell you all the great things about you. This is why I tell people all the time. I can tell you you're amazing, all that stuff. But if you don't feel it for yourself, if you don't really believe it, there's nothing you can do. So now what happens is that we have to actually stop the negative self-talk before we can hear the positive self-talk. Oftentimes you wonder why you give somebody compliments and they can never accept it because the voice in their head is speaking so much louder than what you said. So we really have to stop that first. That's the first thing we have to do. We have to get to stop, turning that off. Second off, I honestly believe that we have blind spots. And I believe that you can start to be more self-aware. You can start to journal. You can start to meditate, to get to the bottom of some of these root issues like rejection, abandonment, low self-worth. However, again, imposter syndrome is just a syndrome to deeper issues. And the reality is if you don't attack the deeper issues, then you will continue to see the syndrome. So we have to go deeper. You got to penetrate that surface and go down and get to the real infection, the source of the infection. And can you do it by yourself? You absolutely can, but it takes a lot of work. But I personally think I look at it as surgery almost, right? I mean, if I have a skin cut, yeah, I could probably go get a band-aid and some peroxide and clean it up and then take care of it. But if I have a flesh wound that's deep, that's layers deep into my skin, I might not be able to take care of that myself. I might need somebody that has more expertise to be able to take care of this flesh wound. And so I might need to go in and get somebody that's a little bit more skilled to come and help me with this. And so my suggestion, y'all already know. I feel like I say it over and over again. I believe therapy, 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 therapy. Get you a therapist. I'm gonna go a little bit step further. I probably have never said this on my channel before. Get you a Christian therapist. And I'm gonna go a little step further. Don't just get you anybody that said they're a Christian therapist. I'm gonna say get you a Christian therapist that you know that got the that believes in Jesus, somebody that wholeheartedly has the Holy Spirit in them and has discernment. And I'm gonna go a step further now. I didn't think I was gonna come on here and say this. I really, and this is not me pubbing myself, but I'm gonna just put it out there. I really am a fan of inner healing now, which is just the idea that you work through those mental health roots, and you work on healing those trauma patterns and those negative cycles that you have. But you also use every piece of your being. That means your emotional. We're trying to heal the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, physical, relational, all of those things to to really to really do holistic healing. I really believe in that, and so I don't believe there's one way, but I also believe that you need help. We have blind spots. We just do. We do. You know, I'm sitting over here talking about it. Listen, I got to go back to my therapist and start work through some of this stuff. I knew about a lot of things I already deal with, but I think I didn't. I don't know if I thought that they fell under the imposter syndrome like that, and so it's really good though because it explains so many things, and I think this could be so much of a longer conversation, but I think I'm going to stop mostly here. I just think we have a blind spot when it comes to things like this, and I think we definitely need help. I mean, so much help. We cannot be silent about it. We cannot suffer in silence. Those irrational beliefs tend to really consume you, and that's what we don't need to do. I think we need to some things you can do on your own is write down the things you're good at and just let it be a truth serum to you, right? Sometimes we don't properly assess ourselves. And so if you can write down all the things that you are, it'll help you when those things in your head that says what you aren't, you can say, but no, I know I am this because, and I have like proof. I have evidence that I'm that. These are the awards I've had. These are this is what I have. These are the things I've done. Oftentimes that can help you like combat those things. So that's something you can start doing. I would say question those thoughts too, right? Like literally, don't just take your thoughts when you know you have these negative thought patterns happening like that. Don't allow your thoughts to just be okay because I thought it is. It's okay. No, challenge every thought. So when you have a negative thought that's saying something to you, stop yourself and say, "Is this real, or is this a projection due to rejection? Is this a projection due to my abandonment?" Right? These are things you can do on your own before you can go to a therapist or an inner healer or whatever. Definitely be careful with comparison. That's the biggest thing. That's why a lot of people tell you stay away from social media because it is so easy to compare yourself to other people. You will literally watch and scroll through your phone and say, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. I should be this. They're 25, I'm 25. This is where I should be. Oh, I should have done this by now. Look, all the things they did. And you don't even know half of their story. You know what they put out there, and now you are now measuring. They're using these people that you don't even know as a measuring stick. Heck, you use people that you do know as a measuring stick, and you forget that you know other things about them. You don't care. You just have now made this thing, and you constantly judge yourself against it. Stop it. Stop. 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 I used to always hear people say, don't say that I want their grass. The grass is green on the other side. Because most times you're not willing to water the grass, go cut the grass, do the fertilizer for the grass. It's certain things you might not be willing to do. And I used to be like, well, that's not true. But it is true. It's certain things. Listen, I know it's certain things I won't do for certain things. I really know that. And that's okay. And it's okay. So now I don't desire things that I'm not willing to upkeep. That's the whole word. I don't want things that I'm not willing to maintain. Okay? All right. Okay. Uh, and another thing is to really not allow yourself to feel. Like when those feelings come up, don't repress them. That's not good for you. Anything that you keep on repressing and pushing down will explode, or it will internally manifest. And I think I tell you all the time, it manifests into sickness and different things. You don't want that. So I really believe that we want to be completely um, transparent, forthcoming. Talk to your friends, your safe places. Bring it up. Hey, I feel this way. I feel inadequate. And I think oftentimes when you air it out, you'll see the false narratives behind it. You'll start to see that none of that's true. And if you have good people around you, they will further reinforce that, hey, that's not a real thought. And then you'll be able to better categorize those things. So that's all I have today, guys. I think we can wrap this up. I think we've kind of gone into it. Don't worry, we can go into so much of a deep dive, but I think we got the general thoughts of it. Um, y'all, let me know what you think about. Like, tell me some stories about how you've dealt with imposter syndrome. Tell me how you might still be struggling with it. You know, you're not in this alone. We're on this together. Healing is a journey. That means it never ends. And I know some people get frustrated with the thought of that, but I just believe that as long as you live in, it's another opportunity to give it right. I have never arrived. No one has arrived. Anybody that told you they arrived, just kind of give them a side eye and just pray for them, honey. Because baby, no, nobody's arrived. We all learning, and we should all try to grow each and every day. And I just don't think there's a point of arriving. I think you just always continue to be the best version of you. There's always something that can be better. But I do believe that you can get to I do believe that when we're dealing with extreme trauma, we are down and we are just on the ground. And I believe that what we should hope and attain for is to at least to be stable, where we're not bleeding out all over the place, where we're like, okay, I'm not 100% in everything because nobody is, but at least I can say that I'm not at the ground at everything either, right? I'm not bleeding out in every area either. I'm stable. When you go to the emergency room, they just make you stable enough. And I think that some people are bleeding out and they need to become stable. So I suggest that you get you a therapist and get somebody to help you to walk through this. Um, Shameless plug, if you didn't know, I've recently started offering inner healing sessions. Yes, me, Paris. I've been kind of doing it for a while anyway. However, I didn't formally, announce it, and it's time. I've done classes, I do these lives, but sometimes people need more. And um, it is my pleasure to walk you through this. So if you need more, information, if you have any questions on my social media, I made a post about it. However, you can go to my website, www.parispjohnson.com. Again, that's www.parispjohnson.com. I have t-shirts and stuff on there, but that's where you can sign up. It'll be a dialogue box that pops up, a pop-up screen that will tell you where you can click on there and do a 30-minute consultation with me where we can talk about if it's a good fit for you, right? If it's not going to be for everybody. It's not. But the people that it is for, I believe it's going to break forth a journey to healing that is going to not be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And I'm excited because I remember the people that offered me a hand to pull me through. I never forget it, and I'm grateful to still be going through it. So I just think we all deserve real peace, real freedom, real joy. So I love you guys. Thanks for rocking out with me. This went a little longer than I thought, but I think we got accomplished what we need to. I will see you next Thursday. Mwah, 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 mwah. And don't forget that you are enough at all times for everything. And you're enough to be worth putting the investment into yourself to get well, to start this journey. You're worth it. Stop self-sabotaging. We talked about that, right? We talked about it. Stop sabotaging yourself. You are worth working on yourself. Okay? Love you guys.